the biggest fear I think that the industry had, and also has right now is that the LLMs are going to steal traffic, right, from Google. The data does not show that. In fact, Google usage barely changed. I think 1%, right? LLMs are increasing, but LLM usage is increasing, but Google usage, search usage, is not decreasing, right? So maybe like 1%. So LLMs are not killing search. It's just part of that search experience. It's just an added experience to how we look for things online, how we educate ourselves, and everything else.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin Kerner with Tech Marketing Rewired. I just got off a podcast session with Tony Pataky, who runs SEO for a company called Procore. They make some, I guess, automation around the construction industry. It's a fascinating conversation. Tony runs their SEO and digital, and I had gotten a hold of Tony on LinkedIn. I didn't know him, but I was impressed with the work that he's done on the site and some of the things he posts in his newsletter. And so I got a hold of him. He was kind enough to give me some time. I was really curious about the hype that's in the SEO space right now. And is it real or not real? I have my own opinions, but I wanted to get an actual operator's opinions on what's actually happening, what he's doing to maintain their credibility and ranking in Google, and just generally talk about best practices as we head into 2026. It was a great conversation. Tony has been doing this a long time. I think he said 15 years, and just had a really good insight. So if you're a CMO or a marketer who is thinking about their SEO strategy and your broader digital strategy, we get into some of that too. This would be a great one to listen to. So before we get started, this podcast is sponsored by my company, Mighty and True. Mighty and True is a growth agency that helps technology companies grow faster and also be more efficient. We have an automation and an AI part of our business that not only builds great marketing programs and strategies for customers, but we focus on also implementing AI and automation into what we do and also what they do. So if you're interested in that at all, come visit us at www.mightyandtrue.com. We will do a strategic blueprint or gap audit for you for free and show you where we think we can improve your results as well as automate your business. So that's it. I'm really excited about this one. Let's get to it. This is Tech Marketing Rewired. Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I can't imagine all the topics we could be talking about. This is like one of the most timely, crazy topics that we could possibly be talking about. So we're very excited to get you on the podcast because I wanted an operator that actually sees us every day. So thanks so much for joining. I wonder if maybe I did a little intro at the start of this thing, but I wonder if you could just give a quick intro to your role there. I think it'll give us good context, a little bit about Procore too.
Yeah, sure. So I work for Procore, which is a construction SaaS tech company. We build project management software tools and actually an entire platform for construction. Basically, you can manage your entire project, your financials, all through the platform. And I'm there as the the director of SEO and marketing performance. So I head up SEO, CRO, as well as analytics. And yeah, basically I joined the company through an acquisition. I used to work at Levelset. Procore acquired that for $500 million, and I've been working at Procore ever since.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You're definitely in the right category. And isn't it interesting how like all these industries like construction and, all these older school industries are now like getting AIified and platforms and all the automations that are happening is really pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting where in construction, if you take all the industries and you list them, from top to bottom, and you list them according to which ones adopted technology and software, construction would be the one before last. The last one is agriculture, farming, and hunting, and construction is right before that. So construction industry in general is kind of like late to the game when it comes to using software and technology. But even here, like Procore is really leading the charge, so to speak, and bringing a platform. And we also have a lot of AI within our software.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, awesome. It's great. It's like we work with a lot of supply chain companies, and they're all the Blue Yonders and Four Kites and Redwoods and all that. They're it's incredible what's happening in that industry. So it's just really cool. I love your site experience, by the way. So you guys have done a great job on the site. It looks great. It looks like it would perform very well. Um, and that's kind of one of the reasons I reached out to you. I wanted to get an operator on the podcast to talk about the end of SEO, which I know is not happening. Or that's if you were on LinkedIn earlier today, you would think that all this stuff is going, it's all going to AI and there's no more humans involved. But I wonder your perspective on what's actually happening on the ground. So I think this is going to be a really good conversation and very useful for a lot of people. Maybe we could start with, without going into the answer of how to fix it. Or what to do. Maybe
Yeah.
we could start about your uh, insights on the current state of affairs. Like what's going on with web SEO search. Let's just level set for a second.
Yeah. I think to be able to talk about today, we're going to have to go a little bit back into history because of what happened late 2025. I think most companies experience, most, if not every single company, experience traffic loss in organic, right? And that sparked this fear and anxiety that a lot of people are feeling right now. And as you were mentioned before, like the death of SEO, LLMs coming in, you know, there's a lot of people jumping on this. And what really happened was 2022, 2023, ChatGPT exploded, right? It became super popular. Everyone's using it. And everyone looked at Google, basically asking like, what are you going to do? How are you going to answer this, right? And they came out with Bard and Gemini, but that's not what people were looking at. They were looking at their biggest product, search, right? How is search going to compete with ChatGPT? And they're already then, everyone was talking about how LLMs are going to take over everything. And then that's when AI overviews came in. So Q4 of 2024, November, December of 2024 was the biggest change in search and SEO in all of SEO history. And we've had a lot of big changes throughout. I've been in SEO for 15 years, so I've seen a lot of stuff that's happened, a lot of panic and everything else that's going on. But Q4 of 2024 is when AI overviews came back, right? Because it was launched earlier in May. That was like Google's answer to ChatGPT, but that was an epic failure, right? Like when AIOs first came out, it was
Yeah, I remember
hallucinations,
that. Yeah.
bizarre answers, a lot of dangerous answers. So at the end of 2024, when Google brought it back, it's spread globally, uh, and basically a lot of people started seeing a drop in traffic, 30 to 40% organic traffic, right?
Yeah.
And this caused panic, anxiety, and the conversations around, oh, everyone's moving to LLMs. All these things started popping up, and the industry, I'll call it that, um, through social media and everything else, have been really um, building up that
Yeah.
fear.
It's kind of freaked out. Yeah.
Freaked out, right? And I mean, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, people are seeing decreasing traffic. They don't know exactly where it's coming from, where's it going, right? So people are selling, services such as, LLM services, how to increase your visibility, how to do that. A lot of that's going on right now in industry. They're jumping on this anxiety and this fear that's being felt throughout the entire industry.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the current state now with uh ChatGPT saying that they're going to add ads, and that's just kind of interesting. And then you have AI overviews taking up a lot more real estate. Kind of continues to push the nervousness, I think, in the whole industry about where this is all going to end up. I'm really worried about ChatGPT because I don't know how they compete with Google on the search side. I can't remember what their browser was. Was it Atlas or something? I did download it at one point and tried to use it, and it wasn't as good as Chrome, so I just kept using Chrome. But
Yeah.
and it seems like now all of the LLMs, I know Claude does this, has a sidebar inside of Chrome. So you're going to have a plugin and you can have Chrome actually, or Claude actually look at the Chrome page, but none of it really seems to have taken off yet. Nothing is better than the search, like bar and window, at least for me as a consumer.
That's exactly right. And the data backs that up. So, and what I mean by that is like, LLMs, they're great, and I love using them too, of course. I mean, I use them all the time. And the biggest fear I think that the industry had, and also has right now is that the LLMs are going to steal traffic, right, from Google. The data
Yeah.
does not show that. In fact, Google usage barely changed. I think 1%, right? LLMs are increasing, but LLM usage is increasing, but Google usage, search usage, is not decreasing, right?
Mm.
So maybe like
Mm.
1%. So LLMs are not killing search, right? It's
Yeah.
just part of that search experience. It's just an added experience uh, to how we look for things online, how we educate ourselves, and everything else. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting seeing of like really search is not dying; it's just
Yeah.
expanding.
Yeah. And the other big hype moment maybe for that I see on LinkedIn is a lot of um, search experts, kind of gurus around search, a lot of applications being built around search. What's your perspective on anyone really having this figured out at this point?
Yeah, yeah. Let's go into numbers because I think there's some hard truths here. Uh, some hard truths that people don't want to talk about in social media where people are selling their services, right? And one is kind of like what we're just touching on right now. People are not leaving Google, right? They're using Google searches,
Yeah.
but they're also using LLMs. So there are people moving to that, but they're using it for different things, right? If we look at if anyone looks at their traffic, I would say mid to large size companies, on average, of all their total traffic, less than 1% of it comes from LLMs.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Perplexity, everything combined, less than
Yeah.
1%. Right. So most of what's being sold right now is this unknown. And what I mean by that is they're trying to sell people on, hey, we're going to increase your visibility and your performance in LLMs. Right. This is what's being sold everywhere. Everyone's an expert.
Mhm.
The fact is, there's no experts. There are no experts. We're all trying to figure it out right now. If someone's
Yeah.
claiming to be an expert, they're trying to sell you something.
Hmm.
The the data that we have right now on what moves the needle in LLMs is mostly observational, right? So far, there hasn't been anyone that I've seen, and if someone does have this, I'd love to see it. There hasn't been any actual causal impact analysis, actual statistical significant research that's been provided of like, if I do this, this will happen. If I do X, this will happen. And I've spoken to a few of these agencies, right, that have been approached, that have approached me with how they're, helping different businesses and improving their visibility in LMs.
Yeah.
And because a lot of companies are shifting a lot of budgets of everyone's falling for the hype. Gotta go after ChatGPT. Gotta go after Gemini, right? Like I said, it's less than 1% of traffic. So a lot of these companies who have approached me, not one has shown research, shows statistical significance of what they're doing actually works.
Golly,
It's
that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I had on Jason White from who was an SEO. I can't remember where he's with. He was on the podcast. I'll look it back at it. Large insurance, I think, or financial institution last year, and he said the same thing. He's like, I can't tell you what actually is happening. He was looking at the server logs to see, at that time, this was a year
mhm,
ago, to see how many what the traffic looked like. And I think now you can find the traffic easier, but same sort of thing. I just think it's a black box. These things are a black box. The other thing that I think would be helpful to hear from your perspective is, seems like it's quite dangerous to recommend, or maybe to hear an executive say, or someone say, let's say, let's pivot because of this big change that's happening. From your perspective, like, what is the danger of some of the hype in the industry right now? What's the harmful, what's harmful that you might need to know about instead of like making a hard pivot?
great question. Because I've been approached by, I don't know, about a half a dozen people who I know in, working at different companies and asking me, should I do this? I was approached by this company and they're telling me to do this so I can rank better, so I could get more performance out of ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all these other things.
Yeah, it's like the new
And
keyword stuffing, basically, right? It's like the natural stuff.
well, the thing is that a lot of these recommendations that are coming out, are not just expensive; they're huge overhauls.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. One of the most dangerous recommendations I've been seeing around is this extreme content chunking. Now, let me kind of go take a step back of like where this is coming from and why it kind of makes sense, but also doesn't. The content chunking is just it's just a word actually being used. I'm seeing it now. It's just a way to rephrase of having good content structure, of answering the question as soon as possible, which has always been an important technique. Really, good content writing is answering the question as soon as possible. So if you have a header, what does a general contractor do? Your first sentence really should be answering that question, right? It shouldn't be a long story about your time at the cabin with your father, and then what I mean. Like, you should get into it and then have supporting data right below it. Now, what's happening now is people are saying that you should have a header and then maybe 2 sentences, another header, 2 sentences, basically turning your article, your educational content, into a FAQ. And that has a lot of danger to it, right? If you do that, there's a good chance that your rankings in Google are going to go down, right? If you redo your website and you redo all your content, the traffic that you have now coming from Google is most likely going to be negatively impacted.
Interesting.
So this is where I tell people, don't forget where your customers are coming from. Don't forget where a big portion of your business is coming from. Most likely for most of the companies or people who are listening to this, if you look at analytics, 30-40% is coming from organic, if not more, right?
Yes.
So are you really going to impact that to go chase after that less than 1% traffic?
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is when you make a mistake in Google, right? If you make a mistake in SEO, you take the elevator down. And when you fix that mistake, you take the long stairs all the way back up. It takes a long time before Google gives you credit.
Takes a long time. No matter how many times you hit re-index, it takes a long time to come back up. There's no way. The other,
Absolutely.
I'm curious about this because there is a lot of site restructuring going on and stuff. Are there other things that people may be trying that aren't a good idea? Like I've heard about the one thing I've heard is a lot of agent to agent talk. So
Mm-hmm.
our website will eventually become something that agents talk to. And so you'll have agents that are buyer led agents and you'll have the agents that are seller led agents, and those will talk and eventually they'll get to know each other, and that will be the way that we transact on the web. Is it too early, or is that a bad idea to even be thinking that way?
It's so good question. Like I'll kind of go through what we know now because it does tie into this. So I would say a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, and this kind of ties into this, comes down to what we know of how the LLMs are going and then retrieving data from websites, right? So RAG is a big term, retrieval augmented generation. It's the framework of how LLMs go out. When you ask the question and you put in a prompt into ChatGPT, if it doesn't have in its training data, it's going to go out and it's going to technically Google it for you, right? Or go to Bing as well, and then retrieve that information. Now it's trying to do that as efficiently and as fast as possible. And this is why a lot of this stuff is coming out of like content chunking and everything else, simplifying your content so that it can actually do that. It comes to your website, grabs it, the answer's there, doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to do major vector analysis and stuff, pulls the information, goes back and gives you the answer. So I would say that it makes a lot of sense of the directions that are going to be positive for you, for your current customers, as well as for LLMs, are going to be like your site speed, right? Your site speed should be fast for your users. Let's start there. Don't forget your customers, right? But having a fast site so that when LLMs come and they try to retrieve an answer or information, that's going to be important. They want to be able to do it quickly. Your content being structured in a way so that it can look at the content, get the answer, go back is also important, right? That's that bluff method of bottom line up front, organizing content. These things, I would say, definitely those are good approaches to do, and we know they work in Google as well, right? Having your answer up front does help with your overall
100%.
visibility. So there are these things that I would And there's other things we'll talk about as well, like of recommendations to go to, but I wouldn't go to any kind of big overhauls, right?
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
LLM is a very small part of your traffic, I'm not saying to ignore it. Don't ignore it. It's there, right? It's important. But if you're going to tackle it, do small iterations. Tackle
Yeah.
it smart. Don't do big overhauls. Don't try to predict the future. So much has changed in the last year. And that's why, like, when there's people who are experts and, hey, we have all these case studies, that's it's,
Yeah.
it's simply not true. It's really not. You can't really be an expert in something that's changed so much so
Yeah, and
fast.
so it really has changed in the last year a lot, but it really hasn't changed in the last year a lot too, because the you would think with all the hype on this stuff that LLMs would be now driving a significant part of traffic. Now
Right.
I use an LLM as product discovery and I use it for research and those type of things, but I will always go to the web and search for things. So it's
Yeah.
like it is changing. Like the buyer behavior is changing. I'm probably way far ahead than most people in their use of, the AI, but it really is. It is changing fast, but in a lot of ways it isn't because search still dominates. It's just the thing.
You actually touched on a really important point here. Is like with LLMs, right? I love using it too. I use it, like I said, nonstop. But usually when we use LLMs, we're not using it the same way we use Google, right? For LLMs, we usually go there to do coding or refresh an email or whatever it might be. But when we're looking to buy something, right? If you're
Yeah,
doing like Go stuff, if you're going to buy, go somewhere, whatever, generally people go to Google, right?
yeah.
Google
Especially in your
still has
industry,
that.
for sure.
Yeah,
In your industry too. Think about the
yeah,
buyer, construction buyer. No doubt about
exactly,
it. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, what I liked about the conversation we had before the pre-call stuff is you were getting into fundamentals and things that you actually should focus on that are going to have some effect on your ability to attract the LLMs, but really the things you should be doing. I wonder if you could run down the 4 or 5 things that you definitely need to be doing now. A lot of them are fundamentals, but it'd be helpful to hear from your perspective, like what you're doing. Um, And if it has any impact on the AI and LLM stuff, we can talk about that too. But I'd like to hear your best practices.
Yeah. And I want to say it in a way, like if I was sitting down with the company who are like, what should we be doing right now? Because like I mentioned, there's a
Hmm.
few people who I spoke to in the past and they were going to do some pretty serious overhauls until, um, put a pause on that basically. The, the fact is, what I'm going to start with this, what we know about AI now, right? Because like I said, don't ignore it. You can still work towards improving your performance there, but there are things that you could do and you could do it safely, right? But what we know about LMs right now of the correlation analysis that have come out is, for example, brand mentions are important, right? Fresh content is important. Um, Content structure is important, right? These things we know it's correlation, but we don't know if you do this, how much is it going to move the needle? We don't know. Actually, even measuring how much it moves the needle is a tough one. So going back to your question and just answering straight of like, what should people be focusing on now? Um, as I mentioned, LLMs, what we know about it is really a combination of really good SEO mixed with really good marketing, right? Brand mentions,
Yeah.
good marketing, and the rest of it, like the SEO stuff. So site speed, take a look at your site speed. That's an easy one. I would definitely focus on that of just fix those things. Look at your core web vitals, go through that. Um, that's going to be beneficial to your users as well, right? You're hitting two things at once, both Google users and also AI. Um, I'll take a look at your old content, right? Stale content, fresh content does quote unquote win
Hmm.
in LLMs and AI. And this is actually just good practice to do anyway. Take a look
Yeah.
at your content, anything that you published over a year ago. Look at the ones that you haven't touched over a year ago and look at the ones that are actually decaying. Now revisit those, find some content gaps in there, right? The search landscape has changed. Your competitors have built better content and everything else. Take a look at some of the gaps. Take a look at some things that you could brush up on, republish it. Now you got fresh content out there with new information that's going to be helpful. You're going to see both Google rankings go up as well as most likely AI performance
Hmm.
with some of that. And we'll talk a little bit about AI performance measurement because I keep tossing that around. Look at your content, look at the content structure, use the bluff method, right? Don't bury the lead. Answer the things up front. These are things that this is just good SEO best practices, right? That's also going to be helpful for AI and LLMs. What else? I'll say these are big ones. Strategic internal linking, helping Google find your content, users find your content, right? Building those educational funnels within your website, that experience. That's important. It's going to help, like I was mentioning RAG before.
Yeah.
LM comes in, finds the information fast, make it easy for them. Honestly, for your user, think of your customer first. That's what's really important here. And then last but not least, if you have time, do some like schema markup, these kind of things, right? Schema, it's not going to hurt you, right? I would say that the research or the data on how important schema is for website is, and AI is kind of shaky. I haven't really seen anything great on there, but technically schema markup tells bots, search engines, really robots, what your content is about. It's easy for them to be able to go through your content and know, okay, this is an FAQ, this is a product, whatever it might be. So make it easy for them to know what it is. Because really when it comes to SEO, a big part of our work in SEO is decreasing confusion to bots.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
That's a big part of what we do. We decrease the confusion for bots, but most importantly, connecting your business solutions to users who are looking for a solution, right? Like that's the primary. But we do that through just decreasing confusion, right? Don't let them kind of make a decision. Make it for them of like, this is what this is.
Yeah, man, it's just such a no-brainer to what the traditional marketing, to what marketing looks like, right? Making it obvious to the person, the human, but then now we've got to make it sort of obvious to the bot as well. I want to get into measurement because I think that's a super interesting area. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you about, there's a lot of activity that needs to happen as an SEO sort of marketing professionals or analytics professional. Have you found are you playing with any automations that might make some of the work that you're doing easier? It can either be synthesizing data or creating new content or the new way to analyze something faster. What are you using, if anything, in terms of just automating the whole SEO process?
Absolutely, yeah. So the SEO team, let's see, my SEO team has been doing amazing work around leveraging AI to help, help with our workflows and just all the work that we do. Gemini, for example, creating gems for specific tasks, looking through content, looking through content, coming up with content ideas, um, analyzing data, right? A big part of our work is really number crunching, looking at
Yeah.
what's happening, what's moving the needle, what's not moving the needle, creating forecasts. But AI has helped with a lot of these repetitive tasks that take up a lot of time. So reviewing content, coming up with content ideas, even with outlines, right? When you give it the right data, it can come out with some really good outlines. Um, One thing I would tell people not to do, and there's a lot of research around this as well, is using AI to create your content. Right? It's I'm saying this because Glenn Gabe, who's on LinkedIn, he's one of the leading, I would say, SEO thought leaders out there. He's put up some really good examples of what he calls Mount AI. And what Mount AI is he'll show you a graph of rankings and traffic pulled from SEO tools of different websites. And the traffic looks like a mountain. It goes up on one side and comes back down the other. And that fast growth and that fast drop generally came from companies who kind of fell to the temptation of
Hmm.
scaling out a bunch of content using
Hmm.
AI. When you scale out a lot of content using AI, we've all ran into hallucinations, right? Hallucinations, bad answers, whatever it might be. Imagine creating 10,000 content pieces just using AI
Yeah.
and publishing it. You're going to have a bad time. So, and that's what these companies were running into. So, I would not use it for that, but a lot of these other things of strategy, building out outlines and plans, AI has been amazing. Number crunching, fantastic. Doing analysis of content gaps between competitors, um, using gems to just do that analysis for you saves hours of work.
Yeah, custom gems are great, especially when you extend them to a team. It's just amazing because you can train them. Have you moved anything, or do you have any plans to move anything to be a little more agentic where it can actually make changes for you? Or are you guys not there yet, or would you trust them when an AI to do that at this point?
I would not. So I would. Great question, by the way. I love that question. So the I would not allow an AI agent to go make changes on the website. I do believe right now AI still needs a lot of critical thinking. It still needs someone with critical
Yeah,
thinking to look through it and be like, that probably doesn't look right. But what we are working towards is building AI agents to help with, for example, technical audits, to identify issues, right? Identification that takes up a lot of time. As I mentioned before, site speed. This
yeah,
AI agent I just built not long ago, that's something that's going to be very helpful moving forward to make sure, because the fact is like companies out there, when you do rebranding, make changes to the website, whatever, your site speed is going to it's going to take an impact, right? And
yeah.
it's hard to stay on top of that. So site speed optimization is always an opportunity. So things like this, where it takes up a lot of time and that we want to do over and over and over again, we are building AI agents for, and there's a long list of things that I have on my plans for. So,
That's cool. Yeah, that's super cool. I do a lot of work in a tool called N8N, which is an automation
hmm
tool. And
yeah,
I've hooked it up with my GitHub and my Claude Code. And it's just amazing what you can build in terms of your own internal apps for all kinds of stuff. And
yes.
but I have not let it go. The other thing I'm doing a lot of is having the agent work, but then it'll notify me in Slack for, whatever. Check this out. Look at this. Approve this.
hmm
And it'll just send me like Slack notes for the stuff. But I would never let it change anything without looking at it, because it could go haywire and I would be like, just be over. I don't know
By
how
the
these people that are using Cloudbot or those tools right now those things scare me because it's just not ready yet. I love the idea of autonomous agents, but I haven't seen it work in
right,
any
it's
business case, right? Maybe personal, but
I'd rather wait and let someone else.
yeah, right. Especially when it's a job, it's your industry, right? You don't want to let it go. Um, Measurement seems like uh, it, it can be both. There might be some changes, but some of the measurement um, challenges and all the stuff might, you know, make it more confusing for people. How do you see measurement? Good solid SEO, digital measurement right now, and then also if you put the AI lens on top of it, how are you thinking about things?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest, I would say, mysteries or biggest data points that's missing within the whole LLM optimization thing is, we don't get the search traffic, right? We don't know what what I meant to say is keyword
Yeah,
volume or prompt volume. We don't know exactly what prompts people are using, how often. Companies are backing into that using SEO tools, and they're like, okay, well, if on Google, someone's searching this keyword 10,000 times, we know that people are using ChatGPT at like 5%. So we're going to take 5%. They're doing this math backing into
yeah. And
prompts, but they're
I wonder if Google has that data and they just don't. It's too creepy to reveal it, but yeah,
so
that is difficult that you don't know what that is.
yeah, you don't have that. You don't know what people are searching for and how and
Yeah,
everything else. I mean, people are getting better at it, and there are people who are collecting some of this data. But fact is, like that's a big missing piece. But the other one is there's no rankings technically, right? If you ask your LLM the same question over and over, you're gonna get a different answer every single time, right? It's gonna give you a different answer
yeah,
because it's not static; it's dynamic. So there's no like, oh, you ranked here and you're going to rank there tomorrow. Or if you search for it and I search for it, it's going to use the memory to kind of also influence how it's, what kind of answer it's going to give you, especially if you gave it some kind of, you know, basically guidance or directive of like, make sure to answer questions a certain way. But memory, so your results and my results are going to be different, and it's going to be different for pretty much everyone. And like I mentioned, one thing the LLMs will not do is tell you, I don't know. It's going to give you an answer, right? So you
yeah,
can keep asking the same question. You're going to get different results. So there's no rankings. You can't really. So what companies are selling right now is visibility, impressions, quote unquote, of, hey, for this prompt, you show up, right? And you show up, and then here's your brand sentiment. It's positive or negative, right? So when someone's typing in best construction software tool, is Procore being. Yeah. So that's the current measurement. And there's a lot of issues with that because, well, okay, what if I show up for this prompt that you have selected, right? Like if I would be speaking to an agency, you have selected this prompt, I'm showing up for it. How much money am I going to make? You can't tie it down to
Yeah.
to the dollar, right? And you can see visibility almost like you're basically making up the prompts of what what you want to track. You can see the traffic coming from just ChatGPT, but you can't really say when I did this, this is what happened. You can't, not like an SEO. I know this moved up 3 positions. We're getting more traffic to that page. You can connect the dots. Right now, connecting dots in LMs is very tricky. And here, if the thing is, like these people who are selling their LLM services, to optimization services, are kind of winning in that, meaning that hey, I'm going to optimize you for these prompts. The customer doesn't know like if this is good. No one knows if that's good or bad,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the dangerous part of the whole thing
So interesting. Spoken like a true marketer, that you're like, oh yeah, we get this. There, people are asking that question about you. So good you're showing up. But your your comment about, did it actually sell anything? Did it actually result in anything? It was good. I mean, and the funnel is so crazy right now because it's you may show up there for that at some point, but then 6 months later you might show up somewhere else, and it's just, I think for brands it's a good thing to be showing up there, but just the buyer's journey, how you get from an initial hearing about a brand all the way to buying something, is just super
and
complex right now.
so you bring up a great point, that pre-click journey, right?
Hmm.
That's such a huge unknown. And look, fact is, people are going to LLMs to research
Yeah.
companies, and then they go to Google to buy. Connecting that journey right now, we can't, right? We can't see that journey. So I understand of like how important it is to be in LLMs. It is. It's important to be there. People are using it and everything else. And a lot of these LLMs are using things like Reddit, looking Quora, and other sources to get consensus when you ask for things like best CRM software or whatever it might be. So being in those places are important. Um, and I don't want to say that it's not. It is important. Measuring it is really tough, and
Yeah.
that's going to be, once we're able to measure that, that's going to be a next big thing, I would say, within AI search and
Yeah.
just
User
marketing in
journey
general.
from LLM to sale, that will be a real game. I don't think it'll probably happen at some point. I don't know.
Yeah,
Someone will figure that. It's really the data. It's just behind such a black box right now. You know, who knows
right.
how that gets solved for. I'm wondering, finally, about, since you have a purview that's across a lot of digital channels, do you have any thoughts about other channels? You've got search, and then you've got SEO, but then you have search, and what's the implications for all this stuff on search and promoted posts, and just how are you thinking about all the other channels that might surround the funnel beyond SEO?
Yeah, I mean, when you ask that question, the first thing that where my mind went is, for example, ads coming to ChatGPT. I haven't seen them yet,
Mm,
but
yeah,
how
I
paid
can't wait.
is.
I can't
Yeah,
wait to see them. It's going to
it's.
be interesting. I don't know how they'll show up, and who knows, but yeah.
I really liked Claude's response
Yeah,
to
I
that
know.
during the Super Bowl. Those
I
ads,
know.
that was pretty good. It's There's a lot of changes happening, and so AI with some of the other channels. I think that AI is fantastic at helping with copywriting and some emails, and obviously giving direction, not just copy pasting it. But there's a lot of opportunity for using AI and in other, I'll just say, marketing motions, so to speak, like whether you're A/B testing, doing paid activities, where you can test out a lot of things very quickly, right? I think that's one of the
Hmm.
biggest things I'm seeing being used a lot through different companies, of being able to just test a lot, coming up with new ideas very quickly, and just you know could go crazy there and just
It's
get a
vibe
lot of data.
marketing. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just being infused with everything, which is awesome. I love the fact that AI is
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of like what you were asking before of, would you let it change anything? I think
Yeah.
that's the part where I'm always like telling people to be a little cautious about.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've heard some people say, like, I've had conversations with people that just say, cut our search budget entirely
Hmm.
because you've got the AEO stuff and you know, let's say branded search is a topic, just cut it because you're already getting to us somehow. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd do that. It seems like search is even more of a useful tactic now because if you do have the AEO showing up with that much real estate, you got to show up somewhere, and your actual organic site might be pretty far down.
Let's stay here. Yeah, actually, that's so great topic. Yeah. So, yeah, with AI overviews coming in, a lot has changed there, right? And you're
Mhm.
exactly right. In Q4 2024, when AI overviews showed up, what we also noticed is like, this ad real estate seems a little bigger than what it used to be.
Yeah,
It might not be right, but I'm like, you know what? If you go now to Google and you search something, above the fold are just ads. And then
yeah,
you'll get AI overview. And then below that is organic. So
yeah,
people who are stepping away from, so what this is causing is that people, if they know where they want to go, if they know where they want to go, if they're typing in a branded search, they're more likely to click on the ad because people don't like to scroll. Interaction cost, people are super sensitive to interaction cost. It blows my mind when we do A/B tests and we just move something up just a little bit, and it's like, oh, it's getting a lot more engagement because people didn't want to scroll the extra amount. It so don't if I were to give a friendly advice to people, I would not give up my paid ad space right now, even though it's showing up in organic. I would be very, very cautious of doing that, because it has changed how people are interacting with the search engine results page.
yeah. Super
Um,
interesting. Yeah, because you don't know how many times you have to scroll. I would encourage every CEO and senior executive to Google their category and see where you
mhm.
end up, and then Google your brand and see where you end up. And you'll
Yes.
be very happy to see that there's a promoted post with your brand name at the very top above the AEO. You might because you might have to scroll down and there might be a bunch of other competitor ads, and then you got the AEO, and then you have your brand, or your organic brand, and it's the territory is so competitive, and the space is smaller now to be able to rank, and so it's like certain. Maybe Google did it that way. Maybe they did it that way because it allows them to sell more uh ads, because there's so much AEO space. I don't know. They're
I,
pretty good at making money.
I wouldn't be surprised. If I put my tinfoil hat on, I'd be like, they did complain about not hitting
They're
their
so
ad
smart.
revenue.
They're so smart. They're not evil smart, but they're just so smart in how they make money. It's just incredible. And I all hats off to them. They're pretty incredible
I'm,
company.
I mean, even with AI overviews, and we were touching on this earlier, AI overviews is so huge now. So when you type in a search term, you get an entire article right there, right? So this
Yeah.
increased that zero-click search
Hmm.
tendency that people have where they search and they don't have to click on a blue link. They're just like, I have my answer. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing. And that article is huge now. It used to be
Yeah.
2,000 characters back in May of 2024. Now it's over 7,000. I don't know. There's YouTube videos embedded as well.
Yeah.
So that real estate has become extremely important. It's a huge billboard technically, because if you go
Yeah.
there, right, you open that up, you see the little like logos, little companies being mentioned. You want to make sure that you're there. But that's where the bulk of the traffic that people saw decreasing in 2025, that's where it went. People getting their answer, quote unquote, tire kickers, right? They got their
Yeah.
answer there and then they went back. But what a lot of companies also saw in 2025, traffic went down, but conversions and engagement went up because that valuable traffic still came through. The people who wanted to do something still came through. And I would tell anyone who's listening to this, go look at your data. Most likely you're seeing that exact same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, AIO has really changed how the SU industry is doing forecasting and looking at traffic moving forward because it changed the game. It changed the game and how you can actually rank, right? There's a lot of, I could go on for hours on how they change what you can and cannot rank for ever since Q4 of 2024. There's a lot of big changes, but yeah, don't sleep on AI overviews. That's a really important part to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so I wanted to do one thing before I let you go. We do an AI roulette question
Okay.
that And it might, this AI roulette question, I do it through Gemini now. So hopefully Google hadn't been listening to this conversation and just torch us both on the AI roulette question. We'll see here. So I put your profile, the outline of what we're going to be talking about, and then I just hit send. So let me hit send and see what it gives me. This is an AI question for you. Oh, this is interesting. If you had to bet the entire Procore organic budget on a single gut feeling tactic that lacks any MSV data or traditional attribution, what is the one unquantifiable marketing bet you would take today? So you don't have any data. You got to make a bet, the whole budget, entire budget. What would it be?
Gosh,
No
that's
pressure.
yeah, no pressure, right? Oh man, unquantifiable. Well, there's a lot of, oof. Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Uh, Entire budget. Look, I'll go back to this. It's just content, like right. The problem is it is quantifiable, but building good content, helpful content, and looking through your website and adjusting your content to be helpful, I think isn't always, that's a winning strategy, right? You're thinking of the customers first, but you will be rewarded in Google as well as AIs, because you know Google ranks those that do well from a UX perspective, right? Google ranks those that people want to see. Is really what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I would focus everything on just content and content structuring, and yeah, that's what
Well,
I would do.
I would encourage everyone to go look at the Procore site because it's really the information architecture and how you go through the site. I looked at it earlier today. It's just really well done. So you can tell you guys have put a lot of time into this, and you have a professional team that runs it all because it just doesn't happen on accident. So well done to you and the team there. It's really good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of teams are involved in that. And it's a
Yeah.
never ending process, right? Every time you make a big change, you gotta update everything. So yeah, a lot of teams are involved in that,
Yeah,
and
it's excited to see how I'll have to try to do this in a year from now and see what happens. I noticed that you had, when I was on your LinkedIn, I noticed you have a newsletter, if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I just subscribed for it. So I'd encourage everyone to go and subscribe to it. I am definitely gonna to read it because there's this space is so crazy. So maybe the name of the newsletter. How do people get a hold of you if they want more information?
Yeah, thanks. So the newsletter is called Search Velocity. You can, if you visit my LinkedIn page, it's up there. But basically, what I'm just basically writing about what's going on right now, how to move forward in this search space. Right. I'm basically just sharing my thoughts for free.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm not a consultant. I don't work for an agency. So I'm just getting into the conversation and sharing it from my perspective. And it's good to see that
Great.
there's a lot of people who are benefiting from it. So I like the fact that people actually like it, and I love writing about it. I love talking about SEO. I could talk about it for hours. So I'm going to
Yeah.
continue doing that. So
Yeah, you're very generous on your time here, and it really is all about community at this point because we're all trying to figure this stuff out. This is the biggest rewire of my career, and I've been around for a long time. So it's great that you're sharing stuff and are willing to do that. So I would encourage everyone to reach out. I'll put your name in the newsletter and the show notes and everything. But I really appreciate you being on, Tony. It's been great to talk to you.
thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate you having me on.
Cool. Talk soon.